Hey, how's everyone doing?
Great.
Now, how's everyone doing?
Great.
You guys got some food, right? You guys got some cookies, some good potatoes? Those mashed potatoes went quick. Well, we want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. We're so appreciative of you being here, being a part of our effort. We're really passionate about what we're doing, and we really love what we teach and how we connect students with our professionals. So a little bit about me. My name is Gunnoe. I'm a PhD student who works with Dr. Dean. I've been in the group for about 2 years now, and my main focus is working with high schools and the K-12 organization and pairing with them. I teach some of the high school classes over the summer, and I'm working to continue teaching high school classes now. So we're really trying to expand all the students we reach out to. But right now, tonight, I'm going to talk to you about a specific topic. I'm going to talk about the idea of perception and how we look at the world through a lens of right and wrong and how that affects who we are and our personal success. So I have a question for you guys, and you can shout it out. Who are you most grateful in life?
My mama.
Mama. What else? Who else are you really grateful for in your life? Religious figures. Who else? Children. Anything else? Opportunity. That's a great person to be thankful for. What we find is that people are usually most grateful for those who are closest to them. Parents, lovable old wise mentor, family, famous figures inspirational through history, or good, righteous symbols from religion or goodness that we see. But let me ask you a question. Who's thankful for bullies? Or the bad guys? Or the infamous people throughout history? Or our demons in life? How many of you guys are really grateful for these guys? Not too many. We got one in the back. What we find is people are usually most grateful for those who they think are helping them the most and who are closest to them in life. But the one question I have for you is, what if you're wrong? What if the bad guys are helping us more than we think? The problem is we have a complex frame of mind. We call this the know-everything mentality. We look at the world in a frame of good and bad, right and wrong, and we immediately decide right off the bat which is which. And we have these expectations. So when we want things to be good, but then they go bad, we get frustrated and we get stressed. So the solution to this is the opposite. It's simplicity, or the know-nothing mentality. The know-nothing mentality is the idea of not making a decision before you get to the problem. It's about observing reality and what's around you and accepting what you see. And when you accept what you see, you're much more at peace and you're happier with who you are. So in life, we have so many wolves, things that cause us, that we're afraid of, things that we think are going to cause us harm, are going to chase us away at night, and we call these things the bad things. And we spend so much of our life protecting ourselves from the bad things. So what I want to do is, I actually want to go through some examples throughout history of people who've tried to defeat and protect themselves from the bad in order to make their life or someone's life a little bit better, and how their perspective affected the outcome. So a literal example, the wolves of Yellowstone. In the late 1800s, people were moving out west, and they came across Yellowstone. It was this beautiful, lush forest land, but there was only one problem. There were wolves everywhere, and people assumed that these wolves were dangerous and that they were going to hurt people and that they needed to go in order to make it a safer place. So they increased wolf hunting to get rid of it, make it safer. But the question I have for you is, were they wrong? After years and years of not having wolves in Yellowstone, in 1997 they decided to reintroduce wolves. Yellowstone, the ecosystem was changing as they knew it. By 2001, wolves were introduced. Elk population went down. Since there was fewer elk, there was more grass. The trees were healthier and more lush. There was a wider diversity of wildlife all throughout Yellowstone. By 2010, the entire ecosystem reached stability. There was even fewer elk, more grass, healthier trees, and a greater diversity of life. So what we see from this is the bad is actually part of our ecosystem, and it's a necessity in our environment. We see wolves in the world, all over the place, in politics and countries, Now, there's one particular wolf that we chased after a few years ago. Look at him. He's grinning his teeth, too. It's Saddam Hussein. In the early 2000s, America decided that Saddam Hussein was a threat to his country, to his people, to the Middle East, and to world peace as a whole. So they decided that in order to help the world, they needed to remove Saddam Hussein from power. And what happened? They did it. In 2000, America invaded Iraq, and ironically, we found out that a lot of our efforts actually caused a lot more problems and a lot more danger in the country. So then the question is, were they wrong? So Iraq before the war, Iraq after the war. Destruction, damage. And what people don't realize is they don't stop to ask and consider, who was Saddam Hussein? What did he actually do when he was there? And what we begin to see, looking in hindsight, is Saddam actually did a lot for his country. He was able to provide stability for his people. If you were to look at this list as a resume and have no idea it belongs to Saddam Hussein, this would be a pretty stand-up dude. I would hire that guy. In fact, I would give that guy a Nobel Peace Prize. You look at things like that, Nelson Mandela bonded two groups of people in South Africa. Saddam Hussein allied 12 different tribes of Islamic people. So looking back, we actually found that although Saddam had some negative or undesirable qualities, the people actually liked him. The citizens missed him when he was gone. And we've confirmed this with a lot of students in our class who come from Iraq. They say, we miss the days of Saddam Hussein. So what we see is that what's bad to some might be good to others. A lot of people are familiar with the story of the Miracle on Ice. The 1980 Winter Olympics. The U.S. hockey team was made up of a bunch of ragtag college hockey players. And they were going to go head-to-head with the Soviet hockey team, the best hockey team in the world. Nobody thought that they could win because it was amateurs versus the experts. But the hockey team of America was inspired by the idea of defeating the Soviet Union, not just on the ice, but overall. So the motivation of fighting against the bad and becoming good enough to meet with the Soviets united this team. And there are many wolves in our lives. It could be anything. Personal relationships, burdens that we face. This is my wolf. He's more of a dog, but looks can be deceiving. This is Chaco. Chaco has been my dog for 11 years. We have a long history together. He's my best friend through thick and thin. He's a good boy, but he's a pain in the butt. And that's the thing about dogs, is you don't actually realize it, but they can be a burden, especially in Chaco's older years. He's stinkier, he's more stubborn, and he's more disobedient. Chaco never used to get on the couches, but in recent years, he started to hop on the couch. And so my reaction is I'd get angry at him, tell him to get off. He'd run away in fear, so then it's time to punish him, and he'd get depressed. And a depressed dog just gets back on the couch again. It was a vicious circle. My punishments to him weren't working. And then so one day, Chaco had a little accident. He wet the bed. Hey, but don't worry, that's not my bed, that's my roommate's bed. It was actually pretty funny, but I was furious. Because I had all these expectations. He's supposed to be my dog, he's a representation of me. I wanted him to be good. But then I realized I could be wrong. The more I tried to control Chaco and enforce what I thought he was supposed to be, the more he disobeyed, and the more trouble I had with him. And I learned a valuable lesson. Is to be grateful for the wolves in our lives, the burdens that we have. What I realized is just to accept Chaco for who he is. He's a dog. He's not a complex human being. This isn't like a relationship with a spouse or a wife. This is a dog. And I realized through him, I learned more responsibility than anything else. I learned how to take care of people. I learned how to consider what people need. And it helped me in all my relationships. Friends, significant other, all over the place. So the bad actually helps us to grow. So to put it simply, We face the world thinking that we know what's going on, but sometimes our perception isn't always right. So the way to seek simplicity is to recognize when you don't know, to learn to observe and use logic to look at reality and accept what's in front of you. Because when we accept the world, we're more at peace with the world. And when we're at peace, we're happier. And this is the LSA approach. We seek to work with professionals and students to make them happier, to lower their stress, to make things simple, to give you a methodology and a way of looking at life that doesn't make you think too much and that helps you recognize when you don't know. And by doing that, you become happier. And a happier person is a better leader. So Dr. Dean and Isaac are going to talk a little bit more about the logic. But this is exactly what we're trying to do with all of our efforts. So thank you very much for being here.